Hey everybody, and welcome to John Deere's Embroidery Legacy. Now, here's the deal. You might hear some drums going off in the background, and that's in celebration of the big Legacy event. Actually, it's not really. We are here again at Lakeside International School in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and they are having a festival outside. So this is a real celebration type of scenario, and it's going to be lots of fun. So we're going to hear a little bit of background noise. I just want to welcome all of our replay viewers, and I want to welcome you to the event. And we can really hear the drums now. So this will probably be subsiding in a little bit as we go on. Anyways, I just want to welcome everybody, and I wanted to ask how many of you have ever been to one of our events before? If you've been to one of our events, give us a little thumbs up, and let us know that you've seen us at an event. We actually just finished at an event in Anaheim, California. We actually had a Digitizer's Dream workshop going on, and it was a great 2-day event, but I got to be honest, I am starting to feel it. James was with me. I think we had a great time. Everybody there seemed to have a great time. If you did and you were there, give us a thumbs up. But I had the red eye going out the next night, and James and I ended up flying home and getting home a day and a half afterwards. And I got to be honest, I felt like I was hit by a bus when we actually ended up getting home. So anyways, life on the road. During this reveal, I know last about 10 days or so ago, I said we're going to be talking about small lettering, and I will get to that next week. Next Friday, we'll do another Facebook Live on small lettering, but it slipped my mind that this was the reveal date, so this is taking precedence. And what I'd like to do today is just actually share a couple of my memories in this industry and a little bit of how I've seen it evolve over the years. The really cool thing is, as you might know, I am a Shifley baby. That means that I was essentially born into the industry. And that means that in reality, I've had about 52 years in this industry since I was born. The story kind of goes that my playpen was in the factory. And to be honest, most of my earliest memories that I can recall all sort of go around the factory and life at my grandmother's house. And if you've been to one of my events before, you know that my grandparents' house was in the front of our yard and our first factory was in the backyard. And one of my very first memories was actually sitting on the finishing table and taking little emblems, and the tails on the marrow borders, I'd put my finger in glue and I would actually press down the tails, and I'd sit there with the family and I would just do that. It was kind of a family experience. I also know as a kid growing up, most of my spare time was either watching TV. I watched a lot of TV like most kids in the 70s did, but I also remember spending a lot of time in the factory, and I remember so many people, Vincent and Louie and Mario and my Uncle Herman and my Tante Marga and Victoria and Helen and Donato and Maria and Maria and Maria and Maria. Our factory was in an Italian neighborhood, which means that we had a lot of Marias in our factory. And I also think that kind of attributed to the fact that I was a pretty chubby little kid. And I think part of that was because being in an Italian neighborhood, everybody wanted to feed me. So I probably had about, 8 square meals a day growing up as a child. And I still to this day love Italian food. So anyways, that was kind of my childhood. Actually, one of my funniest memories was I actually bought one of those toys, that had the little soldier, and on the end it had the parachute, and you throw it up in the air and it would come down, the parachute would open. Well, I think I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and I thought that just looks so cool. I need to make myself a parachute. And we actually had people in the factory, and we had lots of material handy, but we had people in the factory who had machines, and I talked one of the ladies into sewing me a parachute, and we strung some stuff to it, some strings and all that. And then I remember my grandparents' factory, if I snuck around to the back of the factory where the old oil machine or the old oil tanks were, and if you climbed up on the cylinder blocks and then hopped on the oil tanks and then got to the roof of the shipping area, then you could climb over to the top of the factory, which was a big flat area. So I climbed up there and I took my parachute and I jumped off the roof. Not a good experience. We learn from our mistakes. And that kind of brings me to, I guess, a little bit what I'm going to talk to about my years in the industry. If you've been to my events as well, you know that I grew up in a European work ethic, which means that when I was 12 years old, I started working summer holidays in the factory. And at the time, our shifts were 12-hour days. And for the most part, I worked a 12-hour day. And I remember my first year working on a clicker. And I remember being a shuttle boy. I remember learning things about, marrowing, mending, pretty much every attribute of that, industry I kind of worked at. I learned how to do some drafting. I learned how to do stitching. I learned how to be a Shifley machine operator. And from the time I was 12 till the time I was about 17, I had kind of done, pretty much every job you could do in that factory. And that's why when I was 17, I did become a digitizer. I became a puncher, and I trained under, a Shifley master. And the first 2 years of my career were, mechanically or manually creating designs. And that's the way I evolved. And I'm so blessed now. I got to be honest with you guys. It was torture growing up. I did not appreciate, the factory at that point, didn't appreciate the work ethic, but it did teach me to work hard. And the good news now is when I work an 8 or 9 hour day, it feels like nothing. So anyways, that's sort of how we did things. Now, as we move forward, I did see this industry totally change as well. We were in the Shifley industry, which made emblems, and we did, lace work. We worked with manufacturers, and for the most part, we ended up doing emblems and yard goods. And I remember the early days, emblems were primarily for the garment industry, and there was a lot of chevrons, and there was government contracts. And as I was a kid growing up, there was just tons and tons of emblems for Boy Scouts and Girl Guides and corporate logos, police departments, anything that you'd put a patch on, that's what we did. Another thing my grandfather really did focus on, and he was an incredible salesman, is he actually did work within the novelty and the tourist industry. And the novelty patches in the 70s, if you remember back to that time, some of them were a little risque for the day. And, they were kind of called dirty patches. And I got to be honest, my grandfather had a whole line, a catalog of these emblems. And one of my memories as a kid was when the carnival would come into town at Town and Country Mall. We were in Toronto at Yonge and Steeles, and they would set up all of their carousels and all their rides and everything. I used to get myself onto all the rides, not by paying cash, but I'd give all the guys who were running the rides emblems, and it was amazing how many rides I could ride all day long just with emblems that we had made at that time. So we saw that industry really grow, and it supported our family for decades and decades, and it's really where I started. We did move in the, early 80s. We started moving into the multi-head or the Tajima industry. We started to do work directly on garments and baseball hats. We worked with manufacturers there as well. And we had both sides of the business operating for many years. But in the late 80s, we started to see the Shifley industry was starting to evaporate. It was very manually intensive. It dried up, and we unfortunately had to sell those machines. We sold them to a company in India, and they literally came in, broke down hundreds of tons of battleship cast iron. They took it out of the concrete with jackhammers. We put them, on in containers, and they went across the ocean to India. And who knows, they might still be running today. And it was a very sad part of our family's history. Because that's what my grandparents, my Oma and my mother started out with. Now, just a little call out. I know my mother and my grandmother are watching this right now, and I know Jesse said he's going to post a little picture later on. of them, so you can, put a face to this whole thing. But my grandmother is really one of the most important person in my life and in my career. They kind of go hand in hand. She's always taken care of me and loved me. And of course, my mother, same thing. She just helped me immensely and forced me to be at work on time. So that was part of the work ethic part. But anyways, we ended up seeing that industry die, and it went offshore. And then we ended up going full force into the multi-head industry. Now, keep in mind, in our heyday, we were producing about 10 million pieces of embroidery a year. But even in the multi-head industry, in those days, working with manufacturers, I remember seeing orders come in for 250,000 pieces, like cap panels. It was amazing how that industry had really evolved, and the other part of it went offshore. So we ran that for many, many years. We worked with licensing companies. We worked with, doing Disney orders, Coca-Cola, almost any large manufacturer you could think of putting their logo on apparel. At one time or another, we had done those designs. And I remember back in the 80s, I think it was the 90s, early 90s, 92, 93 was when the Blue Jays won the World Series. And obviously being a company in Toronto, I think there was a couple of our machines that for 2 years straight, all we ran was, a merchandise for the World Series because the Blue Jays had won. I actually remember digitizing during the day, and I should also mention that this is probably one of the most important people in my life, in my career as well, is my wife Jennifer. Hopefully she's wondering, so I get some or watching, so I get some brownie points here. But I remember when we were both young, and she's been working in our business for many years as well. We would go in on Sunday evening after our 6-day shift, and she and I would go in late at night, and we would run the machines for the Blue Jays jackets that were being run, just because there was so much work to do. And those were great times. Remember, Jen? Okay, anyways, that was way off track. And my son is here, and he's giving me a dirty look right now. But anyways, we just basically lived in the factory. And what we ended up doing was at around that time, in the early 90s, I did sprout my own wings, and we started Punch Perfect, which was a digitizing house. And when I started, it was just me. I digitized for our machines in our company and one of our affiliates who we were partners with. And then we started to sell designs to other people. And I remember at that point in my career, I was so busy that I literally put a cot in my office because, 4 to 5 days a week, I was sleeping in the factory because I had so much work to do, and I'd be working till early hours of the morning and then getting up again. But it was just what we had to do. And I ended up having 7 punchers under me when it got into the mid-90s, and we were one of the largest digitizing houses in North America at the time. We did hundreds and hundreds of designs every single week, and we never really lost any of our business because our designs ran so well. People in the commercial industry understood that if you had a design that was production friendly and ran really well on the machine, then you were going to make money on those designs, even if you paid a little bit more. We can see the drums are coming full circle around us right now. So anyways, So I started up that side of the business in the 90s, and it was around that time that I started entering competitions, won a bunch of awards. They started to ask me to write for the trade publications. I wrote for publication in Europe, and I wrote a couple articles for Stitches and EMB magazine, and I wrote quite a few for EMB, and I ended up being on the Reader's Advisory Board with EMB magazine, and I think it was maybe 1997 or 98. What ended up happening was we had a roundtable meeting, and my editor at that time, his name was Richard Libovitz. He was an incredible guy, analyst, and he always wanted to know the state of the industry. But we were at a roundtable meeting. It was kind of an emergency meeting because the sky was falling. Once again, a decade later, the commercial industry, the multi-head industry, started to go offshore. We started to lose all of our big orders, and they went offshore, and they were being mass-produced. And for those of us who had really big machines, like 24 and 30 head machines, that was a disaster because those machines wanted to be fed. So I was sitting there, and all the guys who were, part of the Reader's Advisory Board were a few years my senior. I was the youngest guy there, and everybody was saying the industry's dead. And Richard saw I was very quiet, and he said, John, what do you think? And maybe it's because I saw what happened with my grandparents' industry and we survived it. I just said that, I don't think this industry is dying. I think it's evolving. And I got to be honest, I have lived my entire life under that model. This industry evolves, and if anything, it gets better and better with time. And from that point, we actually ended up going from Punch Perfect, and I started in the home industry, which is kind of where I am now. The last 15 years, I've been in the home embroidery industry, and it has been so much fun. I am amazed because we actually had this little video that we've been showing for this big reveal that we're doing, and I think we've had like over 23,000 people view it, which is just incredible. And we've had thousands of comments. My son Jesse was telling me, and I didn't get a chance to read them all, but I did read quite a few. I had to stop, actually. Jennifer made me stop because my head was getting too large, but people were just, saying how much they, enjoyed the events that I was at in past years, and that they appreciated what I was doing in the industry. And I got to be honest, that just means so much to me because this is my life. It's my passion. It's part of who I am, and I think that I'm going to be in this industry probably till the day I die. And I hope that I can make a difference and pass on this art to other people. So it has just been, so incredible, the amount of support that we've had on this one thing all by itself. But when I came into the home industry, that was a whole new world, and it's been a lot of fun. We spent almost a decade on the road, and I met so many incredible people. I got a chance to work with people, industry leaders. I got a chance to work, with Nancy Zeman at her store in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, and she actually sat in on one of my seminars. I've just, there's just been so many people out there that have had an influence and that I've met in this industry that are incredible. And then all the attendees, the people that I've met over the years, it's just been fantastic. I should also make a huge call out to a very, very good friend of mine, Debbie Denny. She was my right-hand person for many, many years, and we were doing events, and I love her, and I miss her, and I'm sort of putting a call out because I want to just say, I guess our prayers are with you to everybody who's facing Hurricane Florence right now and the devastation it's causing. And I know Debbie is originally from that area that's being impacted most, and much of her family's there as well. So our prayers are with all you guys, and we just hope, all the best, and that everybody's just unscathed by this whole thing. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. But Debbie and I have incredible stories. I'm not allowed to mention any of them because I think I'd be hung up on the fence if I was. That was an inside joke. So it's just been so much fun, and I appreciate it. Now, I got to be honest, being here for 60 years is something that I never thought was going to happen. I honestly didn't. I thought that we were done a while ago. 6 or 7 years ago now, I actually handed in my notice to the industry after doing educational events for a decade. And I told the machine companies, I told the dealers that I was no longer doing events. And it wasn't because I didn't necessarily love it anymore. It's because the industry really changed around me very quickly. We were one of the first 3 companies to do events, and they were very busy at the beginning. And if you were at any of my events, if you were at my events years ago, give a thumbs up, because we used to come in with a team of people, 15 trade show trunks worth of product. We'd set up tables. There was tables and tables with design packs. And we had these big bundles that they sold for like $800-900, and it was just you get it all, and I want more, and then some, and everything else. And it was a crazy time because that's the way people bought designs. But after a decade of doing that, what I found was people didn't want to buy design packs anymore, and they didn't want to buy huge bundles. If they did it maybe once or twice at the most, but after that, you're done. And I just thought to myself, well, it's been nice. It's been a nice ride, but I guess it's done. And I got to be honest, I put my tail between my legs, and I sort of crawled home. And I was a little depressed, if I'm honest. And I did retire for 6 days. I joke about that because I did think it was finished. And then I had an incredible idea. And I was so impressed with myself because I ran to my wife, Jennifer, and I said, I know what we're going to do. We're going to actually do Netflix for embroidery. And she looked at me kind of strange, and I explained that, we're gonna put all our designs in this massive catalog, and for an incredibly reasonable price, people can download whatever they want, whenever they want, and, let's do this. And she said to me, that is the dumbest thing you've ever said. Or maybe she didn't say that, but she said it wasn't a very good idea. It's gonna put us out of business. And I was kind of like, I think we're maybe already there. So we ended up spending a couple years reinventing ourselves and trying to figure out a platform. And I am incredibly blessed and happy to say that, we're pretty much out of the fire now. People love our club. They love the fact, if you want a design that looks like this, it's $3.95, or any design, whether it's big or small, $3.95, doesn't matter what it is. You can buy individual designs, but our memberships, it actually costs cents, 15, 20 cents for a design, no matter if it's a beautiful big applique or whether it is a detailed design like this. It does not matter. All our designs are in this. And really my idea was, I want people to use my designs, because if they don't use them, then they're going to disappear from existence and nobody will enjoy them. And we have 25,000 designs in our database, and it allows me, this is the best part, because I am able to stay in business, I'm able to create more designs and keep my passion, my therapy. I call it digitizing therapy. I'm able to keep it alive and going and do what I love to do. So I am so blessed. But really, besides my mother, my grandmother, and my wife being the biggest influences in my life, and to be honest, our success, I fully agree. My wife is the neck that turns this head, and that's the way it should be. If I do what I'm told, I generally succeed. So, but after all of that was said and done, there's been one other huge, gigantic blessing that just changed my perspective, my drive, my opinion. If you were at an event 15 years ago and you asked me this question, are your children going to follow in your footsteps? I always said no, they're not going to. And the reason I gave was kind of selfish. I said, well, they're not going to because I felt like I was forced into this industry, and I want them to choose whatever they want to do, which, it's a nice sentiment. But about 3 years ago, my son Jesse, who's my oldest son, came to me, and he actually asked me, after he'd worked successfully in an industry for a while, he asked me, Dad, would you mentor me? And I got to be honest, my heart melted at that point. And Jesse, it took him, I think, about 3 days to learn everything I had to teach him. But Jesse has been with me and just been giving it his heart and his soul. And he does a lot of behind the scenes marketing and just all of the stuff that I feel too old to get my head around these days. And I got to be honest, it has brought back an incredible passion for me, because I want this legacy to go on another 40 years. Odds are I may not be here 40 years ago, but or another 60 years. Let's think for the sky here. The second biggest blessing, and Jesse is watching behind the scenes right now, is James has decided to give us a try for a while, and he's in the business. And just so you know, my daughter Beth has always been a hard worker and has been working in the family business. Right now she still is. She's helping, but she has a much more important job. She is helping to create the next generation. And if you haven't heard, I'm going to be a grandfather again. So we have grandbaby number 2 coming up, which is incredible. So I just feel so blessed. But James has been with us full time, and he's going to be kind of a little bit of the new face visually. He's been shooting videos. We're shooting videos next week. You're going to see a lot more of them. And we do have some really awesome things planned before the end of this year. And James is right here. So the good news is James is not shy by any stretch of the means. He actually gave a class at the Puyallup Sewing and Stitchery Expo this year in front of almost a couple hundred people, right?
Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking, but I share the same passion as John does, and I'm excited to help everybody learn.
That's Dad.
As Dad does.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
I'm excited to help everybody learn and really experience
And
things.
I always say all my 3 kids are better, smarter, better looking versions of myself. So I'm a really, really blessed man. But anyways, to the big reveal, just so you guys know, we have planned something super special for this 60th anniversary launch. And it's a group of designs that I've actually put my heart and soul behind. And it's not just the designs that I'm going to show you. And as we bring them up, it is on here, James, right? James did all this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Which one is it? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to show these slides and talk through it a little bit. But we did a grouping of 21 beautiful designs. And these 21 designs are all done to fit within jumbo hoops. And I'm talking about designs that are up towards almost 200,000 stitches. But it's not just the 21 designs. I've actually broken them and redigitized them in multiple sizes. So they range anywhere from 5x7 all the way up to jumbo size designs. So even if you don't have a design with a big hoop, that's okay. We have smaller ones. And when you do get that machine with a big hoop, which I know you will, you'll have these ones ready. Now they're also, majority of the designs are broken down into formats or files that actually are for low density. I did them for regular density designs and I did them for low density designs so that you can actually run them on things like, lightweight shirts, and they're not going to be as stitch intensive as the other designs are. So they are just incredible. And I do have a sample package somewhere here, and this is what it looks like. And these are something that you cannot download on our site. This is to celebrate our 60th year. It is a physical product that will be shipped to you in a folded sleeve here. And inside you see all the designs that are available. And we do have a PDF catalog. There's, I think, 2 versions of the catalog. So as you're going through on the thumb drive, so we give you a thumb drive with all 157 files on there, you're able to print off the catalog if you want, but it shows you all of the sizes as far as the hoop sizes, the stitch counts, whether it's low density. We actually show you all of the run instructions for all of the color changes that you're going to need for all of the designs, and that is all sent out to you on a USB. Now, this is the fun part because we are going to announce the contest winner. So one person who entered in on the contest, and look, the drums are going right now. This couldn't be any more perfect. So anyways, I got to find Jesse's email to me, and the winner is, and I don't even have to say drum roll please, the winner is Darlene Hansen. Darlene Hansen, and we will be notifying you by messenger about getting this shipped to you. So congratulations, you are the very first person to be shipped out one of our 60th anniversary collections. Now I just want all of you guys to know though that in this circumstance everybody is a winner because we will have this available on our site for sale, and keep in mind it is a physical USB. Can't download these designs. You end up getting everything on there, and online it's going to be $149.95 for this collection. I did put it out to about $1,000 value, and that's because they're just number one, incredible designs, but number two, there's so much work that went into breaking them properly down into all the files and all the formats. So it's a $150 value that you can do. But we are actually having, what did we call it? A weekend flash sale. So this is a weekend flash sale. It is going to happen for 2 days. And in this 2 days, I think an appropriate price would be $60 because it's our 60th anniversary. So for $60, we will ship this out to you, free shipping, absolutely free. And what's that? No, for the first, what's that? 60 units. For the first 60 units? No, I'm going to change that. My son, we're not going to do it for the first 60 units. Over the 2 days, anybody who goes online, follows the link, and wants the 60th anniversary bundle, you can go online over the next 2 days, and you'll get it for $60, and that will include free shipping. So, and now I'm probably in trouble because Jesse's going to yell at me so badly when I get off of here. But anyways, guys, I just want to, thank thank everybody. I mean, as much as my family obviously has been important in making me the person that I am, I will honestly say it wouldn't be possible if it weren't over the decades, and it seems funny saying that, but over the decades, having the support of incredible customers like you. So I just want to thank everybody, and keep your eyes open for us because we have so many cool things that are coming up really, really soon. I'm going to close out this session just showing our new 60th sales video, which gives an overview. And I will also point out my son Jesse had an incredible amount to do with organizing this video and giving me the right words to say, all that good stuff. But also James was the one who filmed it. So I just have the dream team here. The Deer boys are all together and doing our magic. So thank you guys. God bless. And again, to those of you who are in North Carolina right now, our prayers are to you. So here's the video and take care. Hi, John Deere of Embroidery Legacy here. I'm proud to say that 2018 marks my family's 60th year in the embroidery industry. To celebrate and mark this anniversary, we're introducing an amazing special edition design collection created just for you that's guaranteed to impress and make your embroidery the center of attention. But before I show it to you, let me very quickly tell you the story of how we got here. Our story begins all the way back in 1958 when my grandparents opened their first embroidery factory.
Yeah, we had lots of good times, we had lots of bad times. The beginning was very hard on us. We didn't have really any money to start, so we've been just immigrants, and the Catholic Church in Toronto helped us. They bought us $2,000.
And that's what you bought the first
machine? That's the way we started. You know, we had this long old plowing machine that came from East Germany, and that was our first machine at pantograph.
Ironically enough, that 1905 pantograph machine was the first machine I learned how to digitize on when I was only 17. I spent the first 2 years of my career apprenticing under a Swiss Schiffley master puncher, using that very machine, which is why today I'm one of the last 2 Schiffley masters still alive and teaching in the embroidery industry. In their humble beginning, my grandparents began by creating emblems and lace for the bridal industry. Over the span of 30 years, we worked our way up to 2 factories, 156 multi-heads, 5 Schiffley looms, and over 60 employees, to become one of the top 100 volume embroiderers in North America, producing over 10 million pieces of embroidery per year.
So when I started, it was strictly emblems, and then we moved on to direct embroidery.
Multi-head?
The multi-head, yeah, onto caps, garments, and after that we moved on to programming.
Yeah, we digitized for many years.
Yeah, we had to evolve to stay in business.
After the production of embroidered clothing and manufactured goods moved offshore in the early 1990s, we switched gears and I launched one of the world's largest commercial digitizing houses. It was during that time that I personally won 30 awards for my digitizing. And I did work for companies like Disney and the NFL, and yes, even John Deere. Soon afterwards, digitizing also moved offshore in the early 2000s. I was widely recognized as an expert, so I began consulting and giving lectures and seminars internationally. After a few years of this, we slowly moved away from the commercial side of the embroidery industry and instead started to create quality designs and education for home embroiderers just like you. Now that brings us here. Although times have certainly changed, I'm proud to say that it's our roots and where we came from that defines the quality of embroidery designs and education that we now produce for you today.
When we started, you had these 10-yard machines, and if there was a break, I was the one who had to learn to fix this when there was an E missing, to put that in with my little vending machine. Yeah, it was a good time starting a business, and I'm looking back and I'm very proud that we accomplished this all.
To celebrate our 60th year in business, we're proud to introduce something extra special that I know will make your embroidery stand out and is guaranteed to impress your friends, family, or really anybody who sees your next embroidery project. Our new special edition 60-year legacy collection features 21 breathtaking designs that I've created in multiple sizes to fit in 5x7 and larger hoops. The reason why these are all larger designs is because of the incredible amount of detail that's been stitched into each one of them. Although I've won more awards than anyone else in the world for digitizing, I would consider these designs to be some of my best work. They're truly embroidered masterpieces that draw the eye and look like they were literally painted with stitches. I personally guarantee that every stitch in this collection is laid properly to sew out perfectly on your embroidery machine, each and every time. So be sure to check out all 21 designs below and place your order for the 60-year legacy collection today, as supplies are limited. These special edition designs are a must-have for any serious embroiderer's collection, for large designs that demand attention and will make your work stand out above the rest. Plus, as an added bonus to celebrate our 60th anniversary, we're running a short 2-day flash sale this weekend only. If you order now, you'll receive 50% off and get the entire special edition collection for only $60. But wait, there's more. We're also providing free shipping within the continental US on the first 60 units. So don't wait on this. Now that you know our past, I invite you to become part of our future by placing your order below now and joining the embroidery legacy today. It's no mystery, award-winning embroidery is our history.